That is my carpet. That is my face. Good eve. It is another episode of the Inquisition Live. And tonight I am hosting. Hopefully this works. Don't see what happened. Go live. I was told I was hosting, so I'm always going to be on time if I host. So let's see if I can do this another way. Cancel you. Invite. Dunks. Okay, there's one start.
For the first time I've heard that dunked in.
Hey.
Of course, he's on time because I made him host. No, I never made him host. But if you ask Penge to host, he will be on time, which is weird, but that's how it is. How you doing, mate?
Grand, you good?
Yeah, man, can't complain. Had a
Good stuff.
cheeky wee game of, I was about to say Fortnite there. Had a cheeky wee game of 40k on Monday with Barry, one of the guys I know here. Good wee game. Death Guard triumphed in the end.
Result. Right.
Always.
Let's see.
Hey, Dasmo,
No.
how you doing?
I can invite one of you, but I can't invite the other for some reason. Got Jack. I can't get the other one in. The invite thing's blurred out.
Ooh.
So we've got one half of the team, but not the other half, which is a bit.
We've got the better looking one of the two. Right.
Absolutely.
Gotta get that result in. I'm not too sure why I can't get you both in though, because for the invite is blurred out for you. Quit and come back, and let's see if that works.
Hopefully you've updated your Instagram app as well.
Yeah. Yes, I did say to both of you to update your stuff.
There was an update for my one as well, which I hadn't noticed, so I did get that done.
Yeah, it came out sneakily in the last couple of hours because I've been sitting on the day checking. So Instagram hate us.
Dan, yeah, you're definitely not welcome, mate. Get out of here.
So we'll crack on. I tell you what, we'll crack on while we're waiting for both of you to jump in. Might as well, because we've got one half of you. But yeah, if you quit and come back, no update. Jump out, jump back in, and we'll see if that works. And if that doesn't work, we'll swap around who's hosting, and hopefully that will. Because I don't know if you've ever seen any of our stuff. There's always issues with Instagram. It's the one constant of this podcast.
Yeah.
So there you go.
It's the backbone of failure.
It's spina bifida of the internet. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Let's crack on. So we've got Jack, who is one half of the Warhammer podcast. Guys, thank you very much for joining in with us. We appreciate you trying to get you both in, but like I say, one of you for the moment will do. For those of our viewers and listeners that will catch this later on who aren't aware of who you guys are, just do us a favour and give us a little brief introduction.
I certainly can. So we obviously do Warhammer videos, of course. We primarily do a podcast every Friday, and we also doing a unit review videos. So we're kind of talk about any kind of topics. There's nothing that's like off the radar for us. We try and keep up to date with the latest, but we don't tend to follow the latest stuff. We tend to typically like just talk about just Warhammer in general, whatever we like. There's lots of subjects out there that need to be covered, and we just pick them out of a hat, really. There's loads of topics. So that's us. We're looking to do more videos out there, more collabs like this one, just taking reach out to people because it's just we love Warhammer and we just love talking about it. So we just want to get out there as much as possible because it's really fun.
Yeah.
But that is it. Let's see.
Cool. Now you've touched in our messaging backwards and forwards between us in the last couple of days and weeks that I think the one thing that drew my attention to your channel was your name. Because obviously knowing that you're Geordies, knowing the slang war, and knowing that it's like I like the play on words of it because it's your hammer, our hammer, Warhammer. Yeah, I thought it was brilliant.
Thank you. Yeah, I was trying to think where we came up with it from, because I remember going back and forward for ages trying to figure out like a good name, what's good, what's not, and we're like, well, we want to be Geordie. We want to make it so that it's like, it represents what we are and where we're from and such. And then we're just like, well, what's good? And we're going back and forward with Warhammer, that sort of stuff. Then we're just like, oh, Warhammer, oh, Warhammer. It was just like this. Yeah, it's just kind of eventually clicked forward. But yeah, we're settled on it, which we're very happy with.
Okay, 2 seconds. Let's see if we can add.
So, what age were you when you first started doing Warhammer yourself?
You know what? For myself, I think I was back in when I was 14 or stuff like that. I was quite the young one when I got into it. Just absolutely loved it. I went to the Warhammer shop. I actually got into it. You remember Space Hulk? There was a club at my school back when I was younger, where the teacher ran a Space Hulk game. So it wasn't 40k per se, but it was the Space Hulk element, and we absolutely loved it because we played one. And there was like, I think it was like 15 or something like that in the club, but we all played one Space Marine in the Space Hulk game, and then the teacher was the tuner player. So like every 3 weeks every week would switch out which Space Marine player or Space Marine Terminator would play, and it was class because then we would I would think about, because often in Space Hulk you'd choose, right, which one's gonna escape, which one can escape, can we save with team, and it turned into this element of it's a free for all. So we all landed together and we all worked together to try and complete the mission. But as soon as the mission was complete, we're out of here. So it was a free for all to try and escape it. But yeah, that's when I started basically Warhammer, back when I was playing Space Hulk, and then that's how far I went back for me. Loved it since then.
I just want to say, if you want to quit out your app and then try and rejoin something, if you kill the app through your phone or restart your phone, that should help. For your partner trying to join back in as well, because we'd like to have you both on at the same time.
Still not here. Oh,
No, I mean, and that jumped out, and I managed to jump out and back in, so it's definitely on his end. So
yeah, it's like we say, it's frustrating that we some weeks we have to do 4 or 5 starts on an episode. Other weeks we can just jump in and there's no issues.
Yeah.
So that's our problem, I think, for using Instagram and not being grown ups and investing in stuff. Well,
no, don't be daft, mate.
So just give us a little bit of background about the Warhammer podcast then. How did that come about?
Yeah, it was pretty good, to be fair, actually, because me and Dan hadn't met each other, and I had a friend who met Dan in the Warhammer shop, and them two just started playing together. And then I was getting messages from my mate saying, "Oh, I've got a bloke here. He's just getting into Necrons," and I was a big fan of Necrons, and I still am. And he's like, he needs some tips, and I was sending some tips on what units to play and how to play the game and such. And then eventually I hosted a very small tournament at my friend's house, and I was like, hey, why not you invited a few friends, and I also invited Dan, who at the time I hadn't met or hadn't known. And it was yeah, come on around, come meet 10 strangers in a house. Don't worry about it. Don't tell anyone. Just come around the house, and then you'll come meet some strangers. And then so anyways, the day comes around. My friend who knows Dan dropped out. He couldn't make it, and then Dan turned up by himself. Met 10 blokes by himself, and I was he walked in. I was like, "Harry, mate." He's like, aye. And he's like, where's your mate? And I was like, sorry, mate. And he mate, yeah, it's just you and us. And he's like, oh, and obviously, he's I mean, meeting people can always be a bit nervous in that. So meeting 10 blokes in someone's random house, he was a bit yeah, I'm fine. You can't play Warhammer. I said, yeah, mate, come on in. And just from there, that's how we met. And then we obviously played a bit. I played Necrons, he played Necrons, so we played a few more games together. And then it was just a case of he reached out to us and was like, "You fancy? I've got an idea for a YouTube channel." And I was like, "YouTube?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." And he's like, "Do you do I want to do a podcast." And my immediate thing was like, podcast. I was like, I'm not doing a podcast. I was like, I hate my face. I hate my voice. I was like, I barely watch podcasts. And he was like, yeah, but it'll be good. So started talking, started getting more and more into it. And I was kind of getting around the idea. I was like, well, I'll give it a go, and I'll see how it is. I'll see how it goes. And then just enjoyed it since then. To be fair, it's been good.
Yeah, we'll say it's your combined love of Necrons that really do shine through your channel, because that was the other thing that sort of stuck out to me, was as someone who's sort of getting into playing, looking at Necrons and trying to figure it all out. The fact that you two guys just sit, you got your nice little room, you got your desk, you got everything all set out lovely, and then you just chat about robots. And
it's so
you know
good.
what? I found that a lot of with a lot of podcasts and a lot of things you get out there, and you get a lot of them meta chasing. So it's just a case of you get one episode on one race or one specific aspect, and you guys really do break it down and just go through everything. And I think that's been something that really stood out to me. So how did just the thought process of when you've gone to getting your podcast and then just sort of deciding, right, how do we go from here? How do we have a studio? All of that sort of stuff.
It's funny that because when we started making the podcast and we started watching other people's videos and such, and obviously there's loads of good videos out there, but we were thinking you watch some people who just able to pick up like a topic straight away and manage to talk about it. So we really looked at the audience and we were like, well, look, we're not fast when it comes to making videos or getting the news stuff out there, or even get the latest meta thing out there. So we were just like, well, we don't want to rush it. We just want to talk about stuff that we enjoy and try and be really good at what we talk about. So we're not just going to pick a random topic and then don't maybe waffle about it a little bit. We like to do a little bit of research into the topics that we're doing. So we've talked in the past about what I call the PPP, which was points per pound, because there's breakdowns online where it's the battle boxes that are out there that you can purchase. That's basically well, if you get a battle box, you're getting 400 points for 20 quid. But it's realistic, not 20, 400 points for 60 quid or whatever it is. But we were looking at it and I was like, well, can we just reflect this better? Because that on paper might sound good, but if you do a bit more of a deep dive, it's actually a bit bad because, the Imperial Guard one, for example, you got I think it was 600 points or 800 points from it, which sounded good. So, you bought one box for 80 quid, say, and you got 800 points. And it was this sounds good. But in order to get the remaining 1,200 points, you had to pay more money in the Imperial Guard army to make up that point than you would for maybe, I don't know, Eldar or, maybe Custodes, for example. They're quite a unique model. So although it sounds like a good deal, we really wanted to emphasize, well, look, if you're going for, a new army, then you just want to pick up and play, then realistically you might not want to go for the one that has initially the most points in the box, because you'd save money buying the models individually that make up 2,000 points opposed to a big box. So I hope that made sense. We did a massive breakdown in one of the videos. But so that's the kind of topics that we like talking about, because we find it really interesting. We like finding not so much loopholes, but just the information that people need and might want when they're deciding an army. So that's kind of the gist on where we go, I think, on our kind of videos. And I don't think we'll stop. I think we like to talk about any type of content as well. We don't stopping off. There's we talked about the female custodians and such. I think it's good to talk about these topics just to have that conversation, spark that conversation with everybody else, because it's just interesting and I like talking about it. So that's kind of where we go with our content.
Yeah, I was watching something that I don't often do is I actually don't research too much about the guest, but I actually did watch a good 8 or 9 year videos today, because I'm actually in the middle of building a Necron army myself.
Good. Yeah.
So
yes.
I was watching a lot of your Necron videos, and hey Dan, how you doing, man? Thanks
Got you all in there long last. There we go.
Hello.
Casey has been way later than this, so don't fret about being later or anything.
I wanted to make Casey feel better. That was really what it was all about.
I appreciate that.
From my perspective, it's good that we've got the two sun-kissed bears on the one side and the two Egypt's another side.
It's like for you guys, for you and for Duncan Casey, it must be looking like what you get like ordering off Wish. We're like the Wish equivalent.
Yeah,
Well,
No, we're
honestly.
the
if you're the
team
Wish, we're
versions
the
of you.
Timu. We're definitely the Timu then. But I was watching your videos this morning, and what I loved about your videos is you just don't go in. Like, so for example, I was watching your Immortals videos,
Mm,
and you weren't just talking about the Immortals, blah blah blah. You actually broke down the unit and the best stratagems to use, and what characters to like base them with. Was
mhm.
that a conscious effort when you were doing the podcast that's the way you wanted to do Let's Play with the Immortals, etc.?
Mhm. You want to take that one, Dan, or
No, you go for it, mate.
happy to? Yes, with the unit review videos, we definitely put in a little bit of effort to kind of just think about, right, what's going to be good. And I mean, particularly with the unit review videos, we always thought like you might watch a video and you might not collect Necrons, but we didn't want it to be that kind of video where, right, I don't collect Necrons, thus I'm not going to watch the video. We try and make like an effort to make the video accessible for all factions, primarily when it comes to like working out, right, how can I play it? I mean, one of the topics that we discuss on is how to verse the unit as well. So we really thought about, right, I don't want to just cast my net out to the Necron fan base. I want to kind of introduce it to everybody so that everyone can watch it. And I mean, the good thing about it is that Dan knows about it, and probably Dan hates me for it, but I always like to change stuff in the best. Like if we make a video and it works, it's like, right, why did it work? How can we make it better? Or we're in a position, I tell Dan all the time, we're in a position that we can keep changing our videos and not lose people or lose like the viewers, because it's like, oh, we're trying to make it better. And if something works, fantastic. If it doesn't work, let's revert back. And I think I always message Dan about like facts. I'm like, Dan, this was good. Let's try this. Let's try that. And I can only presume you get annoyed with me, Dan, because of it.
No, I think it's good, and I think like that's how it kind of developed. Like if you watch the early ones, they weren't quite as good as they are now. Well, nowhere near as good as they are now.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
because it kind of evolved, we were like, right, well, we need to start thinking about it from this perspective.
yeah,
And I think the other thing is we're always super careful not to come across as experts, because we're not. Like what we're just trying to share what we know, but we're not like top competitive players, and the channel's not aimed at those kind of people. It's more like you were saying, people getting into Necrons or people that play a bit more casually, those kind of people.
But I must say though, just to jump in there, I think that's what the good thing about your channel is. It's not that you are experts, but you can go and watch tabletop tactics or Vanguard tactics or
yeah.
suck my cock tactics. Do you know what I mean? You can go and watch all those guys who play competitively. But for folks like myself who don't play competitively, who want a kind of, not saying that you're dumbing it down, but
Oh, yeah.
you're dumbing it down to people that don't understand the rules, have not been playing it for that
Mhm.
long. The way you break it down has made it so much easier for myself, because I'm stupid, do you know what I mean, to understand how best to either play against some Necron units or play against them, what stratagems to look
Yeah.
out for, which is amazing, which I really liked this morning.
Well, I mean, we both massively appreciate it. I mean, yeah, we try and make them as best as we can, but as you say, we don't want to overdo it with the Necron stuff, because again, those Necron players, also those non-Necron players, might be like, Harry, will you just stop talking about so much Necron stuff and just like keep it factual, keep it to the point. So yeah, no, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
I will also say on that I think recently, where you sort of both sort of identified units that you don't use as much, and you're reaching out to your followers and everyone that sort of engages with you and saying, right, we don't play this, can sort of work out roughly what it does, but how do you use it? And I think that's a lot of podcasts and sort of rules chats and stuff like that miss out on, because these guys can sit here because they play competitively and they know, oh, this unit, I can leap it across the table, massacre half of this, play a stratagem and be a twat. Whereas you guys are like, okay, right, there's one way of doing it that I know, but what else does everyone else do? And I think that's a really good way of sort of interacting with everyone as well. And you're bringing people into you and sort of promoting what the community, the little Necron community does as a whole, which I'd love to see. Like when you sort of reach the end of Necrons, I'd love to see you reaching out to other sort of, any other sort of faction players and sort of starting off again with that. What's your plans later on down the line for that sort of stuff?
Do you want to go ahead then? Spill the beans.
I mean, firstly, I'm going to steal that idea for Suck My Cock Tactics. That's my next channel. But, secondly, yeah, I think it's when we started doing some of the videos, and you know what it's like on YouTube, you get somebody in the comments that goes, actually, you've missed this, or you've got this wrong, or this and this. And we had a discussion about it. And we're like, instead of these people like like talking to us from the outside, let's bring them in and say, all right, then this is how we do it, this is what we think it is, but what are we missing here? And then also the other side of that is giving them the credit. So you can't read everybody's names out, but we might get sometimes, you know, a bunch of comments, so we just whack their names on the video, and like it's like the credits at the end, just to say thanks, because you know they've given their time to help us out and share their knowledge.
Yeah.
And then moving on from that, in terms of where we go next, we're just about to enter a transition period. It's going to be a very delicate time, because Jack's going to teach me how to edit videos. I do fuck all, absolutely fuck all. He does all of the technical stuff, all of it. I'm in charge of social media, which is basically me just pissing about on my phone. But he does all the editing. Yeah, all of that. So once I'm up to this month, I'm learning to edit, and then after that, we're looking to introduce a new faction. But we're not quite. It's not quite nailed on yet, but it's going to be a faction that obviously that either one of us plays, or we both can play.
Yeah.
And then try and roll it out from there, really. Yeah.
I think it's probably worth mentioning as well. I mean, you were mentioning it all the time in the podcast, how like we're not like at that competitive level, but what things that we absolutely love doing is when we go to these tournaments, or like these doubles tournaments and whatnot. I've always said on the podcast, I learn so much simply by just playing other people or playing other factions. So when we're talking about Necrons, and although we've played Necrons for a few years now, we know the majority of the units, but just because we know them, we don't know, you know, as you mentioned before, we don't know how to play them the most optimal. So reaching out to these people is just this. It's just good to get people involved, because people think about ways. I mean, for the example, you know, the Night Scythe one, the video, Dan, that we obviously that's just been released today, but someone told us a really cool tactic maybe about a month ago, that you could basically just like bring out some warriors from a Night Scythe and then bring them back in during the fight phase. I had no idea you could do it, and I've played it in my last few games, and it is incredible. I had a full squad of Necron warriors just absolutely take out at night each turn, and you can combo that with the Hypercrypt Legion, where you can pull, because typically with the Night Scythe, it has to move a minimum of 20 inches, so it flies off the table. But what you can do is in Hypercrypt Legion, remove that from the table before it flies off, and then bring it back in a position where it's not going to go off. So you're optimizing that list. And I had no idea you could do that, because I looked at that flyer and looked at the data sheet. I said, this is trash. I was like, zero OC, minimum movement, no shooting. I was like, that's awful. And then someone was like, yeah, but if you combo it this way, I was like, that is absolutely incredible. So that's the first thing I wanted to mention. But the second thing about the comment side of things, it's probably worth saying, we've been playing Warhammer for well over a year now, easily, you know, maybe starting to go towards 2 years. We are not experts, and there are so many rules out there that just change that we forget about. So when people comment on our videos being like, oh, they got this rule wrong, it's this, I don't see that as a negative. I want people to comment and tell me what I've said wrong or done wrong, because if I don't learn, I'm just going to then mess up a game in the future. So I just think it's really important that people comment on, like, you know, the posts that we do beforehand. But if they've noticed a video being done wrong, let me know. I mean, I specifically really want to know what I've done wrong, just so I can be better for next time. But they're the two massive points I want to make on that topic. It's really good.
Yeah, and that's really positive as well, because like trying to figure out any rules, they're so badly written sometimes. You interpret it one way, somebody interprets another, and then getting that level of engagement with everyone, you know, it sorts it all out at the end of the day, doesn't it? So it is a really really good way of doing it. I'm going to take a step back, because obviously, Jack, we asked you about how you got into Warhammer and how you met Dan and everything, but we haven't, because Dan's only just joined us, we don't know his story. So Dan, how did you get involved in all the dice rolling and all the madness?
My cousins played D&D in the 80s, and I inherited a bunch of old, I mean, I wish I still had them, but I inherited a bunch of old 25mm, like, white metal minis in about 84, 85. And then, because they kind of just handed them down, and then from there we discovered like, where do you buy these from? And it was basically that. So I started playing Warhammer Fantasy Battle 2nd edition, and then when Rogue Trader came out, we were like, oh, this looks amazing. So that was where we started, really. But in those days, like, we were just kids, so I was probably still at primary school or just started secondary school, and we were like, you know, you'd have one side would have like a bunch of Space Marines and some Orcs, and the other side would have like Eldar, and you know, it was just a mixture. You just basically you bought models by Ruler Cool and then just chucked them all together on the table and blew each other up. It was awesome.
I still forget. Did you say 98 there? 90, not to bring up your age or anything like that, but
Yeah.
you said 85, was it? You say you got the first models?
Yeah, 85. I got given a bunch of 25mm D&D models, which Games Workshop used to make. They were the old white lead ones. They used to have a solid metal base. They didn't have slaughter bases. So I'm pre-slaughter base. That's how old I am. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was confused by that. Sorry to interrupt, but I got I've just got the Navigator, haven't I, from the Imperial Agents. And I posted in our chat that it's a slotting base, and I was like, slotting base? I was like, what's this? And I went back inside.
Yeah, I feel like Grandpa Simpson a lot talking about this stuff, you know, like the year was 1955, and yeah, so yeah.
But it's good that you've got that level of, I don't want to say history and say, oh, you're an old fucker, but it's nice that, you know, you've got the balance between you both, in that, you know, one's a recent convert and you've been involved in donkeys, you know, because I feel like that's always something that when people get into the hobby from a scratch, you know, you sort of look back through the ages of it all and where it's come from. You're like, oh, what the hell is this? But then there's a little bit of nostalgia with it all as well. Like, you know, Jack was saying about playing Space Hulk, and I remember playing the first edition of Space Hulk and being blown away by that. So you know, it's always great to have that balance, because me and Dunk got exactly the same way of sort of looking at it. You know, Dunk's recent. I've been, oh god, 3rd edition. I think I started playing Warhammer 40,000. So, you know, it is always nice to have that balance between you.
Yeah, it is. And I haven't been like, you know, while I've been in the hobby, I have been in and out of Warhammer. I stopped playing 40k and played Fantasy for a while. Then they killed Fantasy off, and I sucked about it for a few years and so on. You know. So I think a lot of people do. It's you kind of meander in and out of the hobby as like other things happen. I think the number of people that have like in it since kids and have never, you know, deviated from that is few and far between. But it is nice to have that kind of history in it and look at how it's changed. But each time you come back in, it's like a completely different company and a completely different game to some you know, the stats are fairly similar, like, but you know, in terms of like your movement, weapon skill, ballistic skill, all that stuff. But largely beyond that, the only thing that's the same is it's still a turn-based game. Most of the rest of it's completely changed, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely fair to say that, especially with, I think, this edition and all the objective control and all of that sort of stuff. It was a complete shake-up. It was fair to say it probably needed it, but you know, I dug out my old 3rd edition rulebook to send someone some pictures out of it yesterday, and I was like, why couldn't they just keep it like this? This is old heads. So
I've still got some of the old. I've bought down as well there some of the old Necron codexes. I love just looking through them just to get some like ideas for maybe some artwork that I'm working on, or maybe like a paint scheme. And obviously we were at this Art Hammer where you can buy like cheap Warhammer. And I think Dan, I bought you the old Necron one and the
old Dark Eldar one. Yeah. 3rd edition,
just seeing them, and I was like, this looks class. I'll take this.
Some of those old books were amazing. Moving on, talking about your history, talking about your podcast. Again, going back to the name Warhammer, obviously you're both Geordies. How do you find everything up in your area with the sort of Warhammer community that you guys have got up there? Something that we always ask when we get people on from different parts of the country. It's always interesting to know what the scene's like, what the people are like, how busy everything is. I know obviously you say you've been at a couple of tournaments recently. So how is it all going up there?
Dan, you want to take it? You've got loads of experience in this one for me.
I would say it reflects Geordie people and who generally have a good sense of community, and it is that way. So the scene's thriving, really. We've got Just in and around Newcastle, we've probably got 4 or 5 clubs now. One of them's just bought premises down on the quayside, which is like, right city centre, but nice bit of Newcastle.
Yeah.
So they're opening up like a gaming cafe type of or gaming bar type of setup. So there's a kind of few clubs. We've got a bunch of local gaming stores. I'm not sure how they all make money as well. There's about 4 or 5 of them. So it's the scene. The overall scene is thriving. On the competitive side, the tournament side, it's been sparse, but it's getting better. So there's one show in town really called Majority T3, which is run by a friend of ours called Ricky, he's been on the podcast. He's a legend up here, and he does one grand tournament a year, so that's like your 2-dayer, and then once a month has been like a 3-game regional tournament type thing. He's literally been organising a piss up in the brewery. It's been in the Brinkburn Brewery, but it's moving now to this new venue, the new cafe I was just talking about. So yeah, there's a lot going on there. And then some of the clubs, like we go to a club called the West Allotment Wildlings. They're holding their first 2-day event, 40k event in November, I think it is. So there's a lot going on. Yeah, it's been. Compared to even 10 years ago, it's probably about 3 or 4 times more things to do. You can play 40k at a club almost every night of the week now, which is pretty good.
It's really, really good.
Sweet. And how do you find, obviously knowing how do I describe this now? Knowing the rivalries up there between yourselves, those above you, those below you. The missus is in the next room and she knows I've got Geordies on and she's had words with me tonight, so I'll get that one down. But do you find that the rivalries between the football teams extends across the tournament tables or the gaming tables, or is that just a case of
Yeah, I mean, I've not seen it personally. Don't know about you, Dan.
It's an interesting one, right? So Sunderland is kind of its own thing.
Yeah.
Sunderland's got and Washington next door to it, which are both in for non-northeast viewers. Sunderland is in Weir side on the River Weir, and we're on Tyne side on the River Tyne. So we don't hit long, like 400 years of not liking each other. It goes back to the English Civil War. But yeah, the Sunderland is kind of its own thing. You will get the odd Mackem that comes up to the events, but they have their own thing going on down there, and they that's it. They're quite welcoming of us. We have pals that go down there regularly for events and have a great time. Our friend Dan was at other Dan was at one last weekend, because again they've got another new shop, a new independent gaming store that's opened up in Washington. I knew where your missus was from because I was stalking you on Instagram. I saw you put a picture up on there. I was like, I know where he is.
yeah.
I was on the keyboard like this. Well, I know where you are. He's like, yeah.
Well, we had Sam from Daily Dice Up, didn't we? For a little game. Well, I went down for a little game trying to beat him, and then he managed to take the win from me. So I feel like I need to reorganise a little one-on-one with him at some point.
Yeah, there's a really good thriving scene in Middlesbrough. We call them the Smoggies, so we invited a bunch of them up, half a dozen of them, and had a little event of our own called Smog on the Tyne, where we just played each other, which was good. There's a good bunch of content creators down there as well, a couple of good back rep channels. So yeah, there's not just Newcastle is always like, the sun in the solar system of the northeast. It's a lot bigger than everything else. It just is. But the rest of it's doing pretty well as well. Yeah, and it's pretty much it's a universal language, isn't it? It's a universal language for socially awkward people like me. So I can go to a club anywhere in the UK, or never mind like the northeast, and talk to somebody and roll some dice. It's great.
And yes, Sam, you definitely got the win in, mate. Definitely, I remember that one.
Go on, Duncan. I'm hugging the limelight here, mate.
So I'm just going to kind of gradually come off Warhammer and stuff just now. So obviously, you probably get partners in that. At what point did you introduce or let your partners know that you were into Warhammer and Little Plastic Soldiers, or was it just one night you just brought them out and they were too busy satisfied and they were it was all right?
For me, it was during lockdown. I think I was boring the crap out of her, basically. She was just like, we're in the house, getting absolutely bored. And then for me, I was like, I'm getting my Warhammer out. And she was like, what? what's that? And I was like, well, I ran and got them, came back. And I was like, little man. I was like, I'm going to paint these, and I shoot them. And she was like, honestly, like, 'cause she knows I play Warhammer. She knows I play, D&D and games and that. She was just like, really? Another thing? I'm just like, yep, I absolutely love it. And then I think since then, for me, it was just I kept on collecting them, and then I didn't tell her how much it cost straight away. I think everyone maybe hides that from their other half for a while, and then eventually she found out when it was my birthday, and I was like, yeah, can you just get me like this one little figure? And she was like, yeah, sure, no worries. How much is it? Like 20 quid? And I was like, no. No. 45. And she was like, for one? I was like, well, technically 5. And she was like, 5 little ones like this. And she was like, that's stupid. But yeah, that's how I did it. She's still not happy I keep buying it, but yeah, that's what I do with mine.
I was a total coward. I hid mine until we'd had our first child. And then
Scared she's going to leave.
She can't go anywhere now. Yeah.
At that point, she was committed. There was no going back.
You baby trapped her.
Yeah, it's the best way. Honestly, I was too frightened. I thought, but once we had our child, I was like, right, well, she's, she can't just kick me out now just for these little plastic men, and it's just kind of grown from there.
Yeah,
she's really good actually. Like, I'll show you this. I don't know if you can see that, but I'm in my dining room at the moment, so she has to sit and eat a dinner, looking at my little shelves of men every night.
Eating plastic. Oh, sorry, got no more money for groceries today. Going back to some Warhammer.
I'm actually in my living room, and like I paint in my living room. So like I've got all my paints up in my fish tank, and then I've got my wee painting table down there. Now I used to have on my fireplace all my Warhammer figures, but they get kicked out into where I work. So I work at home.
Yeah.
And then we were at Christmas, me and my daughter, when she's home from St Helens, we will take out Jesus and put in all the Space Marines and see if she notices, and she's never noticed it.
See, I'm just scared that all that stuff's going to fall in your fish tank now. That's got me itchy.
No, I just keep taking stuff off. If it looks too heavy and it's starting to bow a wee bit too much, I'll take stuff off. But that's all my paints up there.
Aye. For me, I was painting downstairs, and it was my own fault, but I run the risk of painting on the sofa. So like I'm like hunched over, just trying to paint away, and then my dog comes past with its tail and just goes wow 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 with its tail wagging back and forward, knocks over the null oil right over the sofa, and I just immediately was like, no. It's like, I mean, that costs like a £5, so that's ridiculous. I wasted all that money. But secondly, my lass was sitting there like, I told you not to paint there, and I was like, okay, my fault, I'm sorry. Start trying to clean it up. So I'm now not allowed to paint on the sofa. I've got to paint on the dining table.
One of the things that I do that annoys the wife is I'll like reach up for a paint instead of getting up and reaching for it, and at least twice a day if I'm painting, stuff will fall off and like land on me, and it just starts.
Yeah, no, my sofa is looking very detailed right now.
Got some nice shade in the recesses now, hasn't it? Yeah,
it has. Still not forgiven though, but yes.
Like one of the things that I liked with that I like to ask now and again, right? Because we like to be a wee bit close to the bone in this channel a few times. Now you have touched on female Space Marines and custodies, and I'm all for that. Who gives a fuck, right? But one of the big contentious issues of 40k that nobody really touches upon is Fulgrim. Now, is he a nonce? Is he the Jimmy Savile of the 40k verse? Or is he not a nonce and he's just got daddy issues?
I've read that one. I love it.
Jimmy Savile is the Magnus of the Primarchs because he did nothing wrong.
That's God. I can't be that. I was going to say no. I was like, no, Fulgrim's good, but no, that's good.
He definitely got Savile characteristics. I mean, he's got silver hair, wide eyes, likes loads of jewellery. The parallels are there, aren't they?
And he wears purple. Like Jimmy Savile was always in a purple tracksuit. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
The whole female custodian thing was just hilarious, man. Like people losing the actual plot as well. Like I'm a Star Wars fan. Like I'm used to like things being absolutely like retconned and like over it. And what were your guys' views on the female custodies thing? Do you care? Do you not care? Who gives a fuck?
Honestly, I don't care per se about the actual like female custodies. I was just more, again, mentioned in the podcast, I was more frustrated at how they've done it. Like, for this massive company to do such a shit release of something that should have been better. Like, where was the models? Like, where was the new, sculpts that were going to be coming out? Where was the? I mean, the story itself was class. She was trying to sneak in like a nuke to the Golden Throne.
Yeah.
It just sounds funny, like just trying to sneak in this buddy in whatever the nuke is called. But that just sounds class. So, just the way it was done was okay, like kind of like pushed in. But then I think that what really upset the fan base was just that they confirmed it via a tweet. And it was like, come on, like, really? Like, they've always been there. It's like, okay, well, if they have, that's fine, but by a tweet, like, shut the fuck up. Like, do better.
I don't.
But that's the thing, though, with Warhammer, like, and Games Workshop. They do a lot of things like this. It's like, Old Lion was like sleeping underneath the rock and nobody knew. But they do a lot of these, like, stupid things. It's like, like, really? Like, nobody really knew that there was, like, some bad Dark Angels kicking about, like, the All Fallen. Like, nobody really clicked on that half their guys were missing, and why is he getting tortured, and who's this Cypher, and all that sort of stuff. Like, yeah, it is what it is. Like, you know what I mean? Like, for me, I don't give a fuck, right? I don't care, because if you're going to have put female heads on, and the way I've kind of spoke about it, and the way I kind of came to a conclusion about it was, if that promotes some wee girl to write some stories in the distant future about female custodies and all that sort of stuff, then it's a good thing. For me, that's my opinion.
I think as an older head, and Casey might feel this way as well, but it was always kind of explained to us, either explicitly or implicitly, that this was like you were learning this stuff from an unreliable narrator. So it might not be true. It might be that they've made a mistake, or it might actually be a tactical lie as part of some imperial propaganda. So nothing is. It's all a bit tenuous. Nothing's concrete. So when they changed the law, like 5th edition Necrons, like they did a complete 180 of the law. Before that, Necrons were mindless robot slaves to the Catan, and then they went, actually the Necrons beat the Catan, and then the Catan are now they're mindless Pokemon slaves, and you just kind of get used to it. I fully agree with Jack that they should do things, they shouldn't be half-assing it. They should be doing it properly. So there should have been a model release. Even a character or something would have been cool. But it's all kicked off again today, because they've just announced on this new TV show that there's going to be on Warhammer Plus that there's going to be a female custodian. The Tithes, have you seen that advertised? Yeah. So they've announced a new episode of The Tithes, and it features a female custodian. So this has obviously been in the works for a while. It takes a while to produce these things, doesn't it? But it would have been nice to have coordinated everything, so that at least it might have made some of the fans feel a bit less like it was tossed off. You know what I mean?
But do you think that it was only announced today because Space Marine 2 is coming out, and it's kind of trying to sneak it in under the radar a wee bit, because people will go, well, you know what, Space Marine 2, that, like, it's kind of distraction technique, isn't it?
Yeah,
it certainly can be, but I mean, I'd also argue that, like, there is so much going on in Warhammer recently, that, I mean, obviously, there's just so much going on that when is a good time to release it? Like, do they really want that during the low point, or do they want that during the high point to get more eyeballs on it? Or maybe are they trying to, again, as you say, sneak it under? Personally, I don't know. I don't know if Dan, being in the media sector, knows a bit more about it, but for me, I've just got no idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's a classic tactic to sneak out. They usually do it with what they call a bad news story, or something that's going to generate a negative reaction. Is you do it while everyone's attention's elsewhere. But you know what the internet's like 40k doesn't miss a trick. 40k social media. So it's just all kicked off again, and all rehearsing the same arguments. I opened it like that this afternoon. I was like, oh, what's going on here? Oh, it's that again, and that was it.
Reading about it.
Yeah, it's just there is a minority of the fan base that are that way out, and you were talking about Star Wars. weirdly, I've had a few conversations online on social media about this, where I've been talking about this idea that lore isn't canon in 40k, and some of these guys who are adamant that it is have come literally would consider themselves refugees from Star Wars, like they've left that fan base because it's gone too woke or they didn't feel welcome or whatever, but they bring those ideas of what should be canon with them.
Yeah, a fair way of thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, I know for myself, I left Star Wars because of like a bad book. I read a lot of the books, and it was like a bad book. Like it was a Boba Fett book years and years and years ago. I just didn't like the way the person had wrote the book, and I was like, oh, it was just getting bad. And then obviously, when Lucas sold it to Disney for his 4.06 billion, everything from everything that was considered canon was then Legends.
Yeah.
So Disney would have a clean slate. But then, I mean, I think every franchise has gone through a moment of trial and tribulation just now, because I'm not a big Lord of the Rings fan, but I've seen, because Twitter or X, whatever you want to fucking call it, is a cesspool of people in their fandoms, right? And I've seen there was a clip that showed like an Orc family as refugees, and then people were losing them tiny little minds on how can Orcs have families. Like, for me, I don't know, like, but you can see all these fandoms, like Star Wars obviously having a bit of a thing this now with the whole woke thing with the Acolyte. I would have maybe renewed the Acolyte for a second season, but it was badly written. For me, it was badly written. It kind of broke a lot of the canon that we would have, like George Lucas has kind of said, which was canon. But then you've also got like people falling out about Fallout, and you get stuff about the boys, and even like Halo was like, when that first season came out, people were sweating that because you never ever seen Master Chief's face.
Don't mention the age word. I can hear Jack's fist clenching from here.
I will absolutely proud not agree with anything. If anyone says Halo's good, I will disagree with everything they say.
That's what I'm saying. Like every like franchise or every like IP just now is going through this kind of civil war within itself. And if you do say something against something, then you're considered woke. People aren't listening to each other's points of views.
Yeah, I know. It's completely right. I think everyone needs to, because I think, like, you know, it's everyone's hobby. Everyone has everyone has a right to their opinion. And again, just like closing down those conversations again, like it happens all the time. But like you'll talk about something, and it might be the way you come across to certain people, or maybe the way you raise certain points. But as long as you raise a point in the open mindset of a discussion or conversation, that shouldn't be bad. It should be a case of, all right, class, that's your point of view, that's great. I like it this way because of this reason. I mean, that Orc one from the Rings of Power that just came out, like I seen the Orc baby and I was a bit like, all right, cool. I was like, no worries. In my mind, I was just thinking, I just wanted a general bad cluster of, you know, like an enemy per se that is like a mindless enemy that I can just like think about. All right, cool. Those guys are clearly the bad guys. We're just gonna, you know, smush them, crash them, kill them, whatever. But when they've introduced that element of, oh, they're now trying to just defend their own place, I was a bit like, okay, it's fine. It's a different kind of element. But for me, I just wanted, all right, those guys are orcs. They're bad. Oh, Sauron's back. Right, they're going to start invading more because they hate Sauron and they want to go try and take him out. That's kind of how I would have liked to see it go down, opposed to them being a bit like, no, I don't want to because, you know, we'll have a family now. I don't know. You know, it's
like when you watch Lord of the Rings films and you're seeing the mindless hordes of them in Return of the King, and the horse rank smashes into them. You're just hyped for that. You're like, fuck the orcs. They're getting you up. You know, it's amazing. And in the next minute, you're kind of like, oh, yeah, here's a family of orcs. You know, okay. So now,
it reminds me of, do you remember the very first Austin Powers film? And it's like,
I'm about to bring that up.
It's like it's like, oh my god, like what happened to my dad? Oh, he just started like one first guy, and then he gets run over by the steamroller, and then it's like somebody trapping the door going, well, Dave's dead.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, we don't really care about who he works for us. Like, I mean, when you were saying that, that's what I was thinking. Right? I was like, Austin Powers, like, what happened to that security guard that got run over by the steamroller? We actually found out he's got a family. Do you know what I mean? It's like we don't give a fuck, like.
Exactly. So it's just one of those things. But like I say, I mean, they've introduced it. It'd be one of them things that if they don't expand on it, it's like, okay, well, why was it mentioned in the first place? It's like, let's see where it goes. Let's not jump the gun. We're only 3 episodes in. But yeah, that's my thoughts on that one. Like,
I am a bit of a, I'm going to nerd here, but Tolkien in later life, like, I think he's recorded either in interviews or in some letters where he's saying that he wished he'd painted the orcs a bit more grey, because they're basically corrupted elves, aren't they, like the original orc? And I think, so you could argue that there is license there. It's not shitting on the canon in the same way that Disney has with some of the Star Wars stuff that it's done. But whatever the franchise or the hobby is, because you love it, we invest in it, and you invest in your vision of it. And if then they make something that isn't your vision of it, people get upset. And that's, you know, aside from all of the culture war stuff, when they do something like I don't like in Star Wars or the Rings of Power, or whatever, it's because of my personal view of that, what that should be. You know, that's not, and or sometimes it's just shit, isn't it?
Yeah. And that's the thing. We discussed this in our birthday episode last week. Where I was like, they did Warhammer released some like stupid guy in a stilts for Mechanicum, and I was like, that model is fucking horrendous. And this one guy just went full tilt like on my page, going, "How do you think that guy feels? He poured his blood, sweat, and tears into that. Oh mate, it's shit." But he was arguing with every single person that mentioned one. Aye, that model's shit. It's like we're all entitled to our opinions. It doesn't mean that they're necessarily right, but you know, it's not going to change my mind like because some fucking guys poured his blood, sweat, and tears into a ridiculous model.
I'm the same. I didn't change my opinion of the model because of that factor, but I seen the model. My initial thoughts were, that is stupid. That shouldn't be in Warhammer. It has no place whatsoever. And then I seen the memes come from it, and you know, I was like, you know what? I actually really like the model because I like how the fan base is kind of reflecting it and making it this funny joke, and it's like, oh, okay, it's a little bit funny now. I quite like it. So I definitely switched after like a month or so after seeing the memes.
I missed that kind of, it was nice to see a bit of that creep back in. Sometimes it's a bit serious. Like, you were like, oh no, that's a stupid model. And I was like, oh, that's a stupid model. Like, you know, they used to make loads of stupid models and I used to love it. I mean, the stupid and the stupid, like that one was deliberately designed to look a bit ridiculous. And then you've got things like the new Sanguinary Guard with the little wings, which have got all the Blood Angels players crying or whatever. And you're like, no, I just don't really, you know, you can see why people don't like the direction they've gone in with that.
But that's the thing. No, it's like we're all entitled to these. Like, it's like when you first like. I was watching a video on, it was like nurses, and the woman goes, "Oh, that's a cute baby you've got," and the woman goes,
"That sounds a bit kinky. You've been watching nurse videos. Hang on."
She's like, "Oh, that's a very cute baby you've got," and the woman says, "Oh, I bet you say that to every mother." And she went, No. If the baby's ugly, I'll go, "Oh, you had a baby." So, but it's like everybody's entitled to their opinion or something. When you first see something, you go, "Oh, that's shit." It's like when I first watched The Last Jedi, I was like, "This film is fucking shit." After the 5th or 6th watch, I can go, well, I can see what Rian Johnson was trying to do. It's still not the best Star Wars film, but it's definitely a grower.
Yeah, I've only watched that once. You're mad.
Listen, I wanted to call my son Boba Fett. My wife vetoed that. I then wanted to call him Anakin so I could call him Annie. She vetoed that. I did contemplate Sherlock for a while because my last name's Holmes, but then Luke was a compromise. So you know what I mean.
I've luckily snuck my I haven't got a kid or anything like that yet, but when me and my lass do have one, she was like, I want this, my girl to be called Violet. I love the name, yada yada. So I was like, well, as long as that's okay, I'm going to pick my name. You can't be mad. She's like, okay, that's fine. So I've said John. And she was like, John, oh, John's a lovely name, yada yada. And then like maybe 3 weeks later, we were just sitting there watching TV, and she just suddenly just snaps and goes, is that from Halo? And I was like, yeah, it's Master Chief John 117. And she was like, no. She was like, I was like, you've already said, yeah, that was 2 weeks ago. So that's how I've stuck my firstborn in, to be called John.
It's funny. We were going to call mine. I sort of proposed Arthur because I was playing Red Dead 2 when she was pregnant.
Nice.
Nice,
Arthur
yeah.
Morgan, brilliant. But then we started using it too much, and I was like, actually, no, we can't call him Arthur. It's like everyone's like, oh, how's Baby Arthur? It's like, it's not even born yet. Stop calling it Baby Arthur. So they sort of killed it on us, and then she wanted to call it Percy, and it's like, no, I'm not having him named after the green bitch tank engine in Thomas the Tank Engine. I ain't having it. He didn't put it. He is not Percy. So yeah,
It's Gordon or nothing. Yeah.
well, you know what? Actually, we say Gordon. He didn't have a name when he was born, and he came out and he was the grumpiest looking fucker I have ever seen. So we called him Oscar after Oscar the Grouch.
Yes.
It's like, you look pissed
we
off.
didn't know what we're having until quite late. And my wife said, if it's a wee girl, I want to call it Millie. And I was like, no, we're not calling it Millie. And she's like, why not? I says, because if I was in her class, Millie's got a fucking Willie.
Yeah.
No, that's not happening. And she's like, well, what about Tess? And I was like, 10-ton Tess? I'm not having a 10-ton Tess. Any name that she picked, I just went back to like me being like 12 and just slagging off people in school.
It's honestly, it'll save your kid all the trauma. You've got to do these things if you don't forget these names and these insults.
And everyone's coming up now, like names in the chat. Like someone's cousin's called Kirk after Captain Kirk. Fair enough. My son's Casper after Prospero Burns. There you go. So they're coming out. Everyone's got them. There's ways of just slipping them in.
That Casper after Prospero Burns, that's like next level sneakiness. I like that. Yeah.
So,
either that, he's telling us lies, and he just likes Casper the fucking films.
Yeah,
friendly ghost. So we do venture off now. Obviously, we're burning into the last part of the show, so we're going to sort of switch it up a bit more because we've come off topic, and we're going to carry on going off topic. We always like going off topic on here because half of the show is, we chat hobby. The other half of it, as you've probably seen before, is we chat shit. So let's carry on chatting a bit of rubbish.
But see, before you do that, can I just say, you know what isn't rubbish though? Is our new sponsors, Orange Brushes with
You're so good at these transition stuff. I love them.
That was slick.
Yeah, well, I've been working all day, and by working I mean trying to find something, a fucking tiny wee bit of a model I couldn't find. And I'm pretty sure my dog ate it. Our lovely Penge is showing off the green brush range that you can find on Green Brushes on Instagram.
Orange brushes, not green.
Orange brushes. Oh, damn.
This is why no one sponsors us.
You see, you had it there, you had it in your hand, and then it's just slipped away.
It's like Kaiser Soze. Once it's gone, it's gone. Do you know what I mean?
Just voice that when you edit it. Just redub it. So like the bit where Homer Simpson has to go to his home planet or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, our new sponsor, Orange Brushes. They're on Instagram. When you check out, use the code Inquisition in capitals, and you'll get 10% off. There we go. I'll save that for you, Doc.
I am genuinely going to get some. They do look pretty good. Like.
Yeah, I'm going to buy a set as well. I think I'm going to give them away to somebody in the street. Just give them to some random guy in Donegal. Go, here you go, mate.
Hey, you're out with
Hold on, where do you live again? Let me just come hang around yours for a bit. I'll come get them.
Here's a 00 size sable brush. Paint a door. Off you go.
If you run around with orange sticks in your hand in Donegal, someone's going to think you're trying to blow something up, mate.
Well, if I lived in Raphoe, that's the Protestant village in Donegal. If I was living in Raphoe, that would be all right. But I think there used to be one guy in the town that I'm in, which is called Balbuffet, who used to just cut about in a Rangers top every single Saturday.
Oh, hey.
And he played Gaelic and all that, and I think he only started supporting Rangers to annoy people in the town. he was a hardy man. Like, you wouldn't like say about him, but like every time Rangers and Celtic were playing, he'd be cutting about the town, and he's dead now, but. Every time you'd be cutting about the town,
that's not a surprise, is it?
No, but he was a hardy man. Like he could like probably punch a steel door off its hinges. Do you know what I mean?
You've got to respect that level of shithousing as well. Just like winding the whole town up, whole village up. Yeah,
100%. Because there's like so many like every Friday and Saturday buses upon buses leave Donegal to go and watch Celtic, and we've got a semi-professional. But if we had the support of everybody in the county, we would have a pretty decent team. Like the only football club in the town, in the county, really. But
Right.
it's madness. Like, anyway,
Yeah, no one wants to support local. Let's go. Let's just piss off to Scotland and watch Celtic instead.
I know.
Maniac. So, chatting shit. Right. One of the things that we always like to know is your snack preferences, because as we sit here and we sometimes chat and watch stuff, you got to have a little snack. Thunk's necking a Pepsi of Max there. I noticed. That's very good timing. So, first question: what is your crisp of choice?
I like knickknacks right about now. I like to go through the phases. Skips are pretty good for me, but I'm quite liking knickknacks right now.
What knick-knack?
Yeah.
It's got to be nice and spicy, is it?
I think it's just the normal, the orange ones, right? Nice and spicy.
Yeah,
Honestly, I don't actually look at any others. I'm just like, grab them.
What do you mean there's more than one flavour?
Yeah.
I think they do the rib ones, and when I was a kid, they used to do like scampi and lemon ones, which were not good.
I love
Nobody ever ate them.
They were fucking
Did you?
class. And the cheesy ones were really nice.
Oh
Even
shit,
a
I forgot
yellow
about
bag.
them. Yeah.
Even a yellow bag.
Someone-
They were good.
I was on a school trip in year 6 and someone had a pack of Scampi knickknacks and they opened them up and it stunk the boss out for hours, and I hate that person to this day. And I'm talking, this is like more than 20 years ago now. Every time I remember Scampi knickknacks, I just think of that boss and how I want to punch that person still. Not maybe.
I'm the kind of person that opens like a tuna sandwich on on the bus, and I'm just like, don't care.
Microwave.
I'm just and enjoy it.
You psychopath.
Absolutely. I welcome the challenge.
Tuna sandwich with extra smelly onions just to wind up folk.
Yeah.
So we heard Jax. What's yours, Dan?
Oh, my top tier crisp is probably Walker's pickled onion, which is also not a bus crisp, if we're being honest. But I do like them a lot. But I mean, you've seen the size of them. I like pretty much all crisps on a regular basis. I do really like. Do mini cheddars count? I'm going through a proper mini cheddar phase at the moment.
Yeah, I'll include them. I said snack. I think that's fine.
Yeah, I'll take them then. Yeah.
It's a little bit segue, but it's still the same thing. Mexican, was it McCoy's Mexican chili? I used to love those chips, but I can never find them anymore.
No.
Never find them.
They're like specially reserved for like Aldi and Lidl in the middle aisle. Once every couple of months, they'll just randomly pop up, and you just find them by chance. That's what it is.
They're the best types when you find those ones. Absolutely love it.
So you've had your crisps. Your big fingers are covered. Your mouth's claggy. What is your beverage of choice to wash those down with? Are we talking Pepsi, Coke, or something else?
Dan?
I know what Jack's answer is. I should feel like I'm on Mr. and Mrs. I could have written his down and showed it to you on a piece of paper.
Maybe that's what we should do with it, though, when we've got more than one guest on. We do it that way.
No, honestly, cups of tea for me.
Yeah.
I absolutely love a cup of tea. Anytime, no matter if it's freezing cold outside, boiling hot, a cup of tea goes down just as easy. So yeah, tea's all around for me.
That's fair enough, because you can say, I like fizzy juice, but what's your tea bag of choice?
That's what I was about to say. So Rington's tea is the best tea. I'll not hear any more slander about what sorts of teas are out there. Rington's tea, get it delivered to your house, get some ginger saps delivered. Honestly, I'm sorry, but I say I love tea. I go back to the Rington man comes to my house, knocks on the door. I walk straight out back to the back of the van, opens it up. Tea bags either side. Got the cakes, the lemon cakes along there. I just grab. I spend easy 30 quid whenever he comes around. It's so bad.
He's put the Rington man kids through college, I think, haven't you?
Legitimately. Nah. I see there's someone in the comments saying Yorkshire tea. Sorry, look, that is second to Rington's in my eyes, and
Like,
I'm not hearing anything more.
You've never had Lions tea from Ireland? Oh, sir.
Yeah, I have to jump in here because I don't really like tea and coffee and stuff. But when I heard about the Ringtons, man, after I started going out with Sarah for a little bit, I was like, what the fuck is a Ringtons, man? It sounded like Avon for tea. You're just like, because her granddad used to get it delivered around to him. And I was like, so he comes to your house in a van and delivers tea bags. And they're like, yeah. Just like a standard thing up there. It's just like the done. You need your tea, a man delivers it.
People
It's just
think it's such an old thing. People literally, as soon as I say that, everyone's like, "How old are you again?" I'm like, "I'm in my 20s." Like, I haven't, what's wrong with it?
yeah,
If somebody
but
said
it's
to
an
me that
amazing
there's,
copper.
if somebody said to me there was a man coming round and giving me tea bags, I'd be extremely worried and have a baseball bat at the door.
Honestly, if there's a black van, windowless van that just says free tea,
A man
I'm
knocks
in.
on your door and says, "How many bags do you want?"
Oh,
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
how
in
many
it.
tea bags do you want? No, I'm all right, mate. I'm all right this now.
And that's got to be the best playground insult in the chat there. Your dad sells ringtones. So there you go.
yeah, get out of here. I'm done.
Oh, thank Dan. Class.
But Rington's tea. What was the tea you said that was good?
Lions.
Onions. I
You're
don't know.
Googling this now
I think
already and set him off now, yeah.
you
Yeah,
can get it in Asda. I think you can
While
get
he
it in
looks at it,
Asda in the World Food Kit.
Right, okay.
In
North
Ireland, you're split between north and south. If you're in the north, not Northern Ireland, but if you're the top of the Republic of Ireland, it's Lions tea bags, and if you're down south, it's Barry's tea bags, which just sounds like some dodgy guy.
Yeah.
Barry's fucking tea bags, like. And
Yeah,
people know the difference.
really
I've
good.
gave somebody like a Barry's tea. I've gave somebody like Barry's tea. Now, is this Barry's? I suppose I've just went and shagged their mum or something. It's like, have you just gave me Barry's tea? I'm like,
Just pulling
"Right,
out like some little hair between your teeth, like, oh, what is this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always drink Lions up here, mate. I'm like, oh, right, okay.
I'd be more worried if Barry's man turned up at the door than the Rington's man, to be honest with you. Sounds a bit more
Like really tight short shorts. He's like, you want some tea? It's like, no, maybe not. But
Two
I'll have to
degrees
try
up
that. I've not
as well.
tried that before.
So,
Yeah.
other things that we sort of chat about as well, like your other interests, and another.
We never found out your other man's.
Oh yeah, Dan,
beverage of
you
choice.
didn't tell us your beverage.
that's all right. I'm boring. I do like Pepsi Max. That's my. It's not worth asking. I was just hoping we'd skip over that bit. But Jack likes tea so much. We were down in Portsmouth for a tournament, like an event the other week. We went out for a Japanese meal, and he was like looking. He was trying to persuade him to try some sake, and he's like, "I'm not sure about this." And the way I got him to try it was like, "We'll warm it up, so it's like the closest alcoholic thing to tea." And he immediately he's like, "Oh, I'll try that."
Yeah.
And off he went.
Yeah, and then immediately got upsell to the bigger one, and I was like,
bigger
"Oh,
one,
can I just have like the small one, please? I don't want to drink it too much." And she was like, "Oh, no, you want this one?" It was like the 250 milliliter. And I was like, "Okay, yeah, no worries." And just sitting there, and I was like, "Oh, Jesus Christ! I think this it's quite a lot here." But it was quite nice. Not had sake in a very long time, so very nice.
So we also talk about your other interests that you've got. Obviously, we've talked to, Halo. We know all the sort of franchises that we comment on. What else goes on in your lives? What else is your other escapes from the world?
Yeah.
You've asked them. You know that we're not going to get a word in edgeways now, Casey. So I'm going to say thanks very much, but because it's the F word that's coming up now between these two.
Who likes a spot of fishing?
There it is.
Who doesn't? It's so relaxing. It's so you've had a busy week. You get to the weekend. You get up nice and early. You get to the fishing spot. It's just so. Even when it's raining, people think, "Oh, it rains. It must suck." Nah, for me, I just think it's so much better. You've got your brolly up. You've already cast it out. You're just relaxing. Rain's falling nicely. Got a cup of Rington's tea in my hand. Cannot beat it. Cannot beat it in my eyes.
And a big fat spliff. You're waiting for your arms to scream off, and then before you know it, the Rigton man's teabagging you again, and it's all good.
Yeah, man, this is good tea. But no, honestly, yeah, I'm a big fan of fish. I mean, to be fair, I've got far too many hobbies. Warhammer, I love my fishing. I've just started rock climbing as well recently, which I shouldn't because my hands really hurt. And then I collect Pokemon cards, which is dumb because that's far too much money, just like Warhammer.
You can tell he hasn't got any kids.
Yeah.
Enjoy it while it lasts, mate. Enjoy it while it lasts.
Yeah, I certainly will. I think that's mainly my ones. It's probably the ones that I'm looking in my room to try and remember. No, I don't think there's anything more. Play lots of games. Well, I try to whenever I'm editing videos, but that is they're my hobbies. Absolutely love them.
And Dan, I've seen that you've been over to you go up St James's Park a fair bit. Are you a season ticket holder up there, or?
Yeah, I've been a season ticket holder for about a little bit over 15 years. So my eldest is 25 now. When he was about 10, 11, he was quite a surly child. It was wouldn't one of them like just doesn't speak. You get one word answers, doesn't speak to you. But he was into football, so I'd been going, and I was like, well, I'll get a season ticket and take him, and it was just a way to kind of reconnect with him, I suppose, without being too soppy about it. And then since then, I've took the other two kids. We've got 2 season tickets, can't afford any more, but we kind of share them between the 4 of us now. So it's a nice thing, like father-child thing to do.
Yeah.
And it is nice after 14 years of it being really shit. It's nice again now, so it's all right.
Yeah, now you got a bit of money. You're all right.
Yeah.
Extra money.
It's a funny hobby because, that's it. You're basically dependent on who's got the biggest sugar daddy now in football, and that's all it is.
Yeah. Do you find, and this is something that me and my mates talk about, separate to Warhammer, because I've got loads of mates I chat football with. After a game, Newcastle done shy, or you should have breezed the result. Does that affect your mood for the rest of the week?
Dan finds the nearest horse to go punch.
that horse was looking at me funny. He deserved it. I mean, the whole city does. They call it the Cathedral on the Hill. It's like the highest. The stadium is the highest point of the city. It's one of the few grounds that's still in the middle of the city. And when the whole city's bouncing in the build up to a match, and when they win, it's buzzing afterwards. And if they lose or they're going through bad times, and then it is a bit depressed. But I do because it's something that I do with my kids. It's I'm fairly sanguine about it, and also because you just get used to it as a football fan. It's the hope that kills you, isn't it?
Yeah. So, as a Palace fan, and I'm going to jump in and I'm going to say, was it the hope of getting Gahey that sort of? I've got to think you over a little bit for it because we were throwing money at us, and we were just sort of like, no, the whole way through it.
Yeah. Well, that was an absolute farce. We didn't buy anybody in this transfer window, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
With the club as it is, it's a funny position. And again, I feel like all hobby social media is the same. Like football is a bit different because people get really, over invested or super invested in it.
Yeah.
But there's every time something happens where a result doesn't go your way these days, or you don't buy anyone in a transfer window, half the fan base is up in arms about it, and the other half is telling them that they need to calm down. And I think on social media, everybody's extra hobby is arguing with people.
Well, everyone's right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was mine for a long time. I was fucking good at it as well. I would argue the shit out of you for ages, but I can't be arsed anymore.
When I did my infantry training, one of the boys I came really quite pally was a big Newcastle fan. Now I support my home club, which is St Mirren as well.
Nice.
So I don't need to change my. I didn't need to change my scarf when I went to St James's Park in the late 90s. Back when it was good and stuff. But I loved going to St James's Park. It was one of the best stadiums that I'd actually been to as well. And now I follow Finn Harps and Donegal as well. I'm a sucker for punishment, man. Like we are.
Well, we've had a big influx of new fans, obviously, because or people that weren't in the stadium. Like you notice with season ticket for nearly 20 years in the same place, you get used to seeing the same old faces. And the last couple of years have been doing well. There's been a lot of new faces, and you know what? Some of the old heads call them tourists. And I was like, fucking hell, it's the same argument as we're getting in Warhammer at the moment. Like calling, a fan is like Jack touched on this before. Someone that's your hobby is your hobby. Whether you collect minis and just paint them, or you just play the game, or you just read the books or whatever, it's your hobby, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, like you say, I've had my season ticket at Palace for 12 years, and the one area I was in was I think I've lost Dunk.
No.
Can anyone see it? Okay, I can hear people. I can still hear and see people, so that's fine. It's just Dunk that's got a circle flying around on his head. That's all right. his internet in Ireland runs off a hamster chasing a potato.
No.
So
What it was, my fucking idiot son.
there you go.
Look,
He's halfway through a conversation.
my fucking idiot son is looking for a lift home, and he knows I do this every fucking minute. He's away. He's away egg chasing this out, and fucking woe betide him if he has to fucking walk about a mile back to the fucking house, man. Like, fucking use your legs, you lazy twat.
I respect it. I would do that. I would honestly do that.
Fucking hate children, man.
Yeah. So what was I just sort of saying? I've lost my train of thought there now.
You'd had a Palace season ticket for 12 years.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah. It's the same thing. Like, you'd see people coming and going. You recognise the same faces, and you sort of when someone pops up for like a couple of games and then disappears for a couple of games, you're sort of like, what are you here for? Are you just chasing the big games you want to watch? Or you're just chasing, and I think you are right. It doesn't matter whether you are a fan of football or a specific club or whatever. Your hobby is your hobby. Mm-hmm. And really, I think we should stop shouting at each other so much, even though it is a bit fun. Yeah.
I think so. It's just like, we all enjoy it. Let's just enjoy it together. And again, the thing is, I mean, Warhammer, specifically, I think football as well, it's so massive that you're allowed to not like certain elements of it and have that conversation and not turn into this argument that causes people to punch horses. That's all I know about football, by the way. I don't know football, so I'll just reference this picture that I saw in the Sun that of a Newcastle fan punching a horse because we lost the game or something. But yeah,
we got beat by Sunderland. Yeah,
it was the derby. Wasn't it Pardee's last one as well or something before he came to us? It was just ridiculous. It's always good fun being, because like you get a lot of the London derbies and it's not as fierce as what you guys get out there, but when that happened, I remember seeing it and thinking, what the fuck is wrong with you all? And then I end up with a Mackham. So,
yeah, listen, lads. We've got fucking two teams in Scotland that are just fucking religious hatred. And any time Rangers try and get the upper hand with anybody, any sort of fan, every fan says one thing: you let your club die. Your club's only 12 years old, and that just sends the current buns absolutely mental. They fucking hate that. I mean, we've won more league titles. No, you're 12 years old. Like, Rangers died in fucking 12 years ago. Like, you get relegated. You get kicked out Scottish football because of your dodgy dealings back in the 90s and early 2000s.
That was fun. Watching that happen, wasn't it?
Like, because one of the things that I hate, right? Like, you will never experience this, right? Is, see, when Rangers or Celtic are playing somebody, or they find out that you're Scottish, right? The first thing they'll say is, who do you support? Because they want to know if you're Catholic or Protestant, right? Nobody's ever going to go at you guys. So who do you support, Sunderland or Newcastle? Because that's not got any religious connotations to it at all, right? So
it used to.
But when I moved to Donegal, people were like, who do you support? I'm like, I support St Mirren. And they always go, St Who? And I thought, it's like my local side. Like, Alex Ferguson used to manage us, and then he went on to Aberdeen, and he did shite after that. And then people go, like, so who do you really support? I'm like, well, what do you mean? Like, well, who do you really support? Like, when we use a Celtic are playing each other, who do you support? I'm like, I don't support it either. Like, no, but you must support one of them. No, I don't. And I used to get that. When I did my tours of Ireland, I used to get this all the time. And I remember losing the plot with some Irish guy in Armagh, and he went, who do you really support? I says, look, mate, see if Rangers are Rangers are playing Celtic or Celtic are playing Rangers, they used to do beanbacks to whatever stadium wasn't hosting the game to watch the fans, right? And I says, and I would love that there'd be an electoral storm that would hit both Parkhead and Castle Grayskull, and it would kill 100,000 Catholics and Protestants. And the guy went to me, he went, that's a bit harsh. I'm like, I'm telling you who I support and you don't believe it. And he's like, all right, okay. I stopped him 8 months later, and he went, how's St Mirren getting on? I was like, we're still pish.
I don't think St Mirren's a real football team. I think you made that up.
Yeah,
I think you've got a Saint from Saint and Greavy, and then you've got Helen Mirren, and you've just took them together and gone, St Mirren. It's not a real player.
No. You look up Paul Dummett. He won a League Cup with St Mirren back in the day.
Yeah.
We beat Celtic and Hearts. I love Paul Dummett for what he did, and Connor Newton as well. We had two boys in loan for us for use that season. Connor Newton was a great player. Whatever happened to him?
Yeah, I was just about to say the same thing. I don't know. He never just disappeared. And Dummett's only just gone. We were half expecting to sign him back at the, on a free because we were short of players. But yeah, he's only just left. He's been here for ages.
Dummett was I like Dummett out, and Connor Newton was he did what a season he had up. Whereas like we won the League Cup that year, and we still dying out in that. It was like fucking 10
See,
years ago now. But
you say don't know, like when people say because you're Scottish, like, oh, who do you support, right? And I don't know if you boys have had this, but like when you venture further south and you have the northeastern accent, you always get someone saying, "Oh, are you from Newcastle?" or "Oh, are you from Sunderland?" And they're guaranteed to get it wrong. Like half of my family have called Sarah a Geordie, and I swear her face is like, "You fucking what?" Like, no, she's from Sunderland. Fuck off. But you've got to have had that happen to you at some point.
It definitely has. Like, it's funny because like where I work, I typically tone down my Geordie just for customers to understand me whenever I'm speaking to them. So like I always consider myself like I've like reduced how I sound as a Geordie, but then I still go down south and they're like, "Oh, you from North?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm like, oh, from like Sunderland." No, like Newcastle, please. Come on, get it right. So it's definitely happened to me a few times. I don't really take like direct like eyeball them, but I am like, no, I need to correct you. It is Newcastle. Please don't refer to me as Sunderland.
It is a contentious point. It is. And I've got one other thing on this to follow up with, right? And this is going to sound like I'm being borderline racist to the northeast, and I apologise in advance.
that pretty much means that you have to be racist. You're 100% not being racist. Right? It's like saying, I'm not racist, but nothing good's coming after the
I'm
but.
Southern. All right, I get the piss taken out of me by being Southern by all the in-laws all the time, so it's fine. It's fine. I get called Cockney, but I'm from South London, not East London. So yeah.
I said the same thing to Jack. Jack was asking where you were from. I said, "Oh, he's a Cockney." Everyone from London's a Cockney.
There you go.
I'm sorry.
It's appreciated. It's the north-south divide. We appreciate it. Now, have either of you been on Biker Grove? I had to ask it.
No, but I watched it loads.
No, I haven't. I do know people that were.
That's the thing. That's the thing. You either were or you know someone who was, and it's just the weird. It's the weird. She was in it as like an extra in the series that after Anna and Deb left, and like I said it to her as a joke on a date once. It's like, "Oh, come on, you've got to have been in Bucker Grove," and she went, "Yeah," and I was like, "Oh fuck, what do I know?" Because I'm taking a piss here, and it's a genuine answer. Oh, shit. But yeah, you either were or you knew someone who was. It's just the weird way it works.
Yeah, they filmed it. They didn't film it. Bikers in the northeast city. And they filmed it on my side of the city, on our side of the city, on the west side somewhere. And but there was a few Mackhams in it. The girl that played, was she called? I want to say Puggy.
Puggy.
So, yeah, she was. She like they must have had a good drama school over there, or they'd run out of drama school people from Newcastle. But she was in it for a while, and then we used to see her when we go over to Sunderland. She used to work in the shopping centre in the Bridges and the card shop there. Like just getting record dots. We spent all day going with people going like that. Bless her.
So a question I've got to ask you is, like, because we all work and we all do this podcast and we all do our own podcasts. How do you balance the work to the hobby to the podcast for your family?
Remember that?
No, you go for it, mate.
For me, I mean, for us, obviously, for me, it's pretty easy, to be fair. I've only got Hannah in my house, so don't have to wild balance anything. I think I literally just said, I was like, "Oh, we're doing a podcast on the Sunday." She was like, "Oh, right, cool. That's how it's going to be." And I was like, "Yep, absolutely fine." And then, yeah, I mean, because obviously Hannah hadn't met you before, Dan, hadn't she, when she came around? And you were just like this random bloke, and I was like, "Oh, this is Dan." She was like, "Oh, yeah, how's it going? Welcome." And then obviously Hannah just thought it was this like quick little thing, but then it's now turned out to we almost share similar birthdays in terms of birthdays, don't you? 'Cause you just turned a year old, like a week ago, I think it was. Yeah. So I think we were a year old just in July. So it's
actually about a couple of weeks before you guys, I think.
Yeah. So it's crazy to think that we've been going a year, which I can imagine you guys are the same. I just think it's went fast, to be fair.
And how you found the reaction to yourselves? Because you are a different type of podcast compared to everybody else. They're kind of like ourselves a wee bit. We're a wee bit different. You're a bit different. How have you found that reaction to being different?
I think you have to be like. I think I don't want to sound too arsey here, but I think the two things that you have to be is like you have to find your own little niche, and but it has to be authentic. Like what you guys do is authentic, and there's a lot of people out there that are trying to be something they're not, and I think that's partly where they fall down. And I mean, we have a weekly podcast where we just literally like pick a topic and talk shit about it, or sometimes we'll actually do some research. But and then we'll also do the unit reviews, and it's given us like two different audiences, if you like, and they don't always necessarily cross over. Like some people that watch the podcast aren't Necron players, and some of the Necron players have no interest in listening to me talk about anything apart from Necrons. So the same as yourselves, we started it like because we like talking about the hobby, and we thought we'd give it a go. And you just see where it takes you, don't you?
Yeah.
But within that, you just have to try and not. A lot of the other podcasts out there were doing stuff like, you could almost write what the segments were going to be, like what they've been doing in terms of the hobby and et cetera, et cetera. There was a kind of a set format, and we tried to avoid that, I suppose. Yeah. So we just cut the ends off either end and just do the middle bit where you talk about something, and that's it. And also length, length is obviously important in some areas, but we don't care if we talk about something and it's 30 minutes, then that's it. We'll just do 30 minutes. If it's a good topic and it's an hour and 20 minutes or whatever, then we'll just
That's it. I think we just got to give it its worth its time, really, haven't we? Yeah. We don't want to rush stuff. We don't want to gloss over anything. I think it's just finding that right balance. And yeah, we definitely don't try and stretch it out, but at the same time, we always don't if there's like a good conversation going, we'll never stop. And be like, all right, cool, yeah, talk away. And I think there was that one segment, I don't know, a good couple of podcasts ago where I was talking about Halo. I looked back when I was editing the footage, and I was like, holy shit. I was like, I spoke about Halo for 25 minutes and Dan didn't say a word. And I was like, I really wanted to say what I said. So like, I'm glad we didn't stop, but at the same time, I might consider it in the future to slow down.
You had a lot to get off your chest. Yeah.
I think it built up for a good few years. So yeah, definitely get off my chest.
Am I right that you two still haven't met each other? Is that right?
Yeah.
I met Casey through a painting competition by Inferno Miniatures, and I said I really like whatever he was painting. I think he was painting a Death Guard vehicle. I was like, I really like that colour that you painted it, and so on and so forth. And we kind of just started like messing each other back and forth. And then we ended up, he would go on live with just your average 40k guy, Simon. And I kind of floated out. I says, look, why don't we fucking do a podcast where we get people on who don't have a big following, who are really good skilled painters, and not just if they're skilled painters, but if there's something that we like to see.
Yeah.
And like, because you could do a podcast and get the usual big names in, like Peachy and Duncan Rhodes and Rogue Hobbies. Like we've had a lot of them on, but I wanted to maybe push it to a different extent where you're bringing people on and going, do you want to come on and tell us about your hobby journey? And they go, why do you want me to come on? It's like, well, we want to hear about you. Like, I like what you're painting, and I follow you because I like your content, so I would like to know more about you.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why we get you guys on as well, because like Casey's a big champion of yours, and I've found out a lot more about people through Casey, and vice versa. Casey's followed a lot of people that we would never have necessarily followed at the same time. And when we had Simon on, he would have brought on people that both of us would never have followed. And
I still don't.
And then he left to go and do bigger and better things. But like, we wanted to bring something different to the hobby. With bringing people on. How many times can you hear Duncan Rose tell that he worked in Games Workshop? And you know what I mean? It's like, and this is one of the things I like. Duncan, like, that's no disrespect. I mean, we've had them on, but we always try and ask different questions. Like, is Pilgrim a nonce? Why do you hate the Beatles? Female Space Marines. Female Primarch. How much will people lose their minds when the first female Primarch comes out?
Exactly. Exactly. I think that's it though, because I mean the hobby again, it's so big, and Dan, you've primarily mentioned it in the past, where like there's different levels of the hobby. You know, you've got the entire painters, you've got the ones who want to play the game, and you've got the ones who maybe just look at the lore aspect. You want to meet these people and find their videos and kind of talk to them, because each and every one will have a different way on how they got into the hobby, but also a case of how they enjoy the hobby and what they do within the hobby. And I think it's just finding them people. Again, I mean, Dan, you recommended so many people to me, and I've recommended so many people to you, and it is just that element of finding those people. Because I mean, YouTube, it's an algorithm thing, isn't it? You watch some videos, you'll be shown those videos, and to some degree, you'll never find an amazing content creator, because it's a different style to what YouTube thinks you like. So having multiple people like, you know, me and Dan trying to do away to each other to help find those different people is just the best way. And then obviously for yourselves, getting them on the podcast and talking about them is just the right thing to do. It just makes so much sense.
And the reason I asked Casey and Simon to do it is like I get into the Horus Heresy novels, and I'm a big lore guy, so I don't read lots of lore. But obviously they would know more about the game and the different versions and codexes than I don't know anything. So having them on, and I actually I panic when Casey is busy, because I'm like that. I'm bringing on somebody who's been playing it since second edition. I then start scrambling about, asking people to jump in to help me. Because if they start going, oh, do you remember in fourth edition when that Elder banged that orc guy? And I'm like, oh yeah, that was a great time. I don't actually have a clue.
No,
Do you know what I mean?
but at the same time, though, mate, it's like it's such a big hobby. You can't be expected to know every little thing. Like, I mean, like I feel like I've got a good grasp of the Necron stuff. And someone asked me a question about it the other day, and I was like, oh fuck! It's like, sorry, I don't know what that is. Just because again, it's just so big, and like nah. Like Dan, obviously you've got years of experience, very similar as well. So if someone started asking me questions about like fifth or sixth edition, that's where my brain just turns off. I'm like,
I can't remember, and I swear most of these people have to look these things up. Like, can you like, Casey, back us up on this? Can you like, unless you get the books out and look at them, I can't remember what the fucking rules were in fourth edition. You know what I mean, or fifth, or how it differed from sixth edition. I'm too old. It's all like being pushed out of my brain by other stuff. The lore stuff's interesting. I like the lore, but I can't. It's a bit like trying to sit down and start a really long like Netflix series like Breaking Bad or something. Like I just see this road in front of us of all those Horus Heresy books, and I'm going, I'm not sure I can do that.
It's hard, isn't it? Because like obviously we get so much recommendations, being like it's such a good series, yada yada. And then I mean we've read one of them, Thousand Suns one, haven't we? And that one was what, was it 16 hours or like 23 hours or something like that? It was.
I read it, and I'm a slow reader, so it probably took me about twice as long as that. It was like 20 odd hours on Audible, wasn't it?
It was crazy.
Yeah,
but good. Crazy.
It is mad. But then, like you say, if people are into that and that's their thing, off you go. Good luck
for them. You know what I mean? It's because again, there's like you can be in the Warhammer hobby that will generalize, but then within that element, it's again the painting, the building, the playing. I mean, see some people who submit for Golden Demon. Absolutely crazy models, and that's just what they do. They don't play; they just simply make a diorama and make a fantastic one. So, lots of different people in the hobby, which is probably another reason why I massively love it. Because again, there's just so many people out there. It's good to chat to them all.
Yeah.
What we're thinking of doing, and we did a pilot episode with Warhammer Dave Hammer,
yeah,
and Paint Parrot Scott. We kind of did a kind of trivia quiz. We'd love to maybe have you guys on at some point, maybe a head-to-head in the Necrons or something. We did run it, and I think it was pretty successful, because it only took half an hour.
Yeah.
And absolutely, I kind of stole it from. I don't know if any of you used to watch Collider back in the day when you had a guy called Chris Harloff who did the movie Schmodown, the movie Trivia Schmodown. And it was basically all these people that lived in Los Angeles, and they would bring people on and it was like testing their movie trivia knowledge. Now their movie trivia knowledge was brilliant, and they had like different categories, but he kind of did it in a kind of WWF style where you had heels, you had good guys and bad guys, and you had like storylines. I mean, it was absolutely phenomenal. He had a Star Wars championship, and he had Sam Witwer on a special, and Sam Witwer's knowledge was amazing in Star Wars. but he fucked up one of the questions. He was doing it in front of a live audience, and the question was, who does Darth Vader kill first in The Empire Strikes Back? Now, he knows Star Wars inside out. He tried to be smart by doing the actual line and fucked up the name. But yeah, like I kind of stole it from that, and kind of doing it in our own wee sort of way. But I like, what's the future for you guys? What are you looking to do in the future for yourselves?
I think we always get together like every 6 months just to kind of plan out or map out the next like 6 months of what we want the channel to look like and maybe grow, maybe set some targets for ourselves. But we just have like a backlog of just ideas that we want to do. But the main killer is literally just time. We just don't have the time to implement what we want to do. So it's going to be one of them things that we gradually do. And it's probably going to start off, as we briefly mentioned before, we're going to start doing more unit review videos. And again, continue the podcast every Friday. And then as Dan transitions on getting up to speed on the podcast, we can then start expanding onto more videos. And again, I mean, battle reports are the ones that do really well on YouTube, but we have our idea on how do we want to kind of mix that up. Because again, you look at some battle report videos that do really well, but then people copy the format. And although they work and they are successful, I just want to revamp it. I just think it's become not stale. We don't want to use that word, but it's become predictable. It's probably one of the better words to use for battle reviews. So I think revamping it and remaking it into something better. Well, no, yeah, so maybe something different. It's probably a better word because battle reports are good, but I want to make them just in a different way. That's kind of our plans. But I mean, we've got loads as always, but time.
Yeah, it's like time. I mean, I'm just glad to get out of the fucking house. But we have got loads of good ideas. I think we've got good ideas anyway. But it's just
let's just say ideas.
Let's say ideas. Yeah, but it's just finding the time. Like you hit that point with the YouTube channel if you want to grow it to any sort of size where like we call it the grind like phase because you've got to put extra hours in and it becomes like a second job, and I think that's where a lot of people get demotivated. So we agreed right from the outset, like we'll put in as much time as we're comfortable with, and if we ever feel like it's not fun anymore, then that's it. It's not the job. It's not my job. It's not what keeps a roof over the head and all that. So I think as long as you're having fun with it and the rest of it kind of looks after itself, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like exactly how we've kind of felt. Because I've said to Casey a few times, like if you ever get tired of it, we'll wrap it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like even though we've only been doing it a year, it's like I don't want, as long as people still want to come on, and if one person's watching or two people are watching, I'm more than happy to do it. As long as Casey is happy to do it as well, because we enjoy doing this. It's like, what else you are doing on a Wednesday night? Talk to your missus? Nah, you're all right.
Do that the rest of the week. It's 7 days in a week. I don't need to do it all 7.
Yeah. No, it's right though, because I mean, like, say I mentioned it at the start, but it's like we enjoy it. So let's just like we've said it before. We're never going to be like if something new comes out, we're never going to be the fastest. We're never going to be like Auspex, where he scans it, and as soon as a bit of information comes out, he's got a video up. We just want to be that channel to be like, right, no, this has came out. Do we like it? Well, no, we're not really asked by it. Let's look at something that we do enjoy that came out like 2-3 weeks ago, even a year ago. Let's talk about that instead, because I'd much rather have more fun talking about that than just reading off like the latest news kind of thing in my eyes. But yeah.
And you find that with a lot of channels that you say, it's like people, it's like there's only like 2 or 3 people I'll watch for lore, but there's a lot of people out there and they're just repeating the same things that other people have.
Yeah.
And I don't watch battle reports because I don't understand them. But it's like anything, like there'll be like certain channels, like I like chess, so I'll watch certain channels for like chess stuff and stuff like that, break down games. Yeah. And it's just finding that wee corner for yourselves and bringing something different to it, which is brilliant.
It's the best way. Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Right. I think that brings us to an end then, guys. Thank you very much for your time this evening. We do appreciate you giving up your Wednesday nights coming to chat to us, because you're going to go away on Friday and chat again. Whatever heat you've got on indoors, we appreciate you coming on and spending the little bit of time talking to us. The last thing that we do offer our guests is just a chance to plug yourselves, what you're up to, where are you, and what you're on.
Dan, go ahead.
Well, we're obviously on YouTube and on Instagram. We're technically on Spotify sometimes.
Don't call me
Yeah.
out like that.
Yeah.
They're all uploaded now. Don't worry.
I know that, Peter. I'm actually in the middle of uploading our stuff to
Yeah.
Spotify, which I thought would be easy, but it's a pain in the arse.
It can be made. Yeah.
It's easy for me to sit here and then moan, because I don't have to do any of it.
Yeah,
Not
I'm
yet,
the same. Don't worry. We're on the same wavelength.
Yeah, come and follow us on Instagram. We're Warhammer Pod on Instagram, Warhammer with WOR, obviously, and the same, I think, on YouTube. It's Warhammer 40k. Is that right, Jack?
It certainly is. But
Yeah.
it's probably worth mentioning on YouTube, if you search Warhammer 40k, it's going to auto-correct it to the correct Warhammer. So at the top, make sure you click where it says, I want to search for War, W-O-R Hammer, and you'll find me.
I've run about that a couple of times. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't our best move, was it? Like, we didn't think that one through. So the search engine's like, these guys don't exist. You obviously just can't spell. Yeah.
It makes perfect sense because I can't spell, but that's beside the point.
But
Cool. Well, once again, James,
thank you for having us on.
Yeah.
We were dead excited about this and really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Guys,
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. I'll get this downloaded at some point and uploaded onto YouTube, and I'll send you both the link. It'll be open, so you can cut and take whatever content you want out of it for your own channel as well.
Thank you.
Oh, lovely.
yeah, rip us off. We're happy for you to rip us off. You're fine.
I've already ripped off Dunk's look. I just need to lose the glasses now, and we'll down there.
Separated at birth.
I feel like I need a Corby now.
So right, anyone that's still in our chat, thank you very much for tuning in tonight, guys. I know Dasmore Wargaming and Paint Party Scott are having a mental health stream, which we would recommend checking out because they're always good to chat to about these things. As for us, Dunk, we've got a show next week. I can't remember who our guest is because I'm useless. You can't remember either.
I know it's a person.
Yeah.
They are alive.
We hope they are. Yeah, and at some point we will start writing this stuff down. And
Don't ever change. Dunk's gone again.
he's got to go. What a pose for him to go again. Right. So I think
It's Katie and Glory next week. Now they do Twitch streams every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. They'll be on next week as well.
there we go. Thank you very much, Dunk. Right.
Thank you.
Any last words from you tonight, mate?
Look after yourselves and each other.
Get off that tip. Right. Guys, once again, thank you very much for coming on. Pleasure to have you back here, and we'll catch you in the future. And anyone else in the stream, we'll catch you next week. Toodaloo. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much. Take care.